We're going to spend some time today going over the behavior plan we developed for Luke. I just want to quickly go over our behavioral concerns to ensure we're on the same page. So Luke is a 16-year-old student at a typical high school. He has a diagnosis of ADHD and is fully independent during the school day. From discussions with yourself and other school staff, it's been noted that Luke engages in a lot of problem behaviors in your class. So we took some data, and it seems like this behavior is maintained by escape from work tasks in the classroom. I know this is super disruptive for his peers and to your teaching, so we want to get a handle on it as soon as possible. We've developed what we call an operational definition for this behavior, which essentially just outlines all the components of the problem behavior. We've defined Luke's disruptive behavior as being any instance where Luke speaks out in class without being asked by the teacher. This does not include during group work, but it does include any verbal utterances regardless of volume or length. The strategy we're going to use to address this behavior is called negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is easily confused with punishment, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview so we're all on the same page. Negative reinforcement involves removing something aversive, which in turn increases the likelihood that that behavior is going to occur in the future. I know it sounds wordy, so I'm just going to explain it with a real-world example. Let's say you go into the bathroom, and when you're done, you flush the toilet. The noise is really loud, so you cover your ears, which removes the aversive sound. Next time you flush, you're more likely to cover your ears. So in Luke's case, we want to change his behavior by providing escape from the aversive task when he complies with our demands. However, we also need to consider your time and that Luke is just one of many students, so your time invested needs to be limited. There's a really great article by Allen and colleagues, and that's what we've used to develop our plan that allows Luke to leave the classroom contingent on a lack of disruptive behavior. It's also pretty simple to implement. I really like how this article outlines the procedure being run by someone outside of kind of the ABA spectrum, because it makes it simple for staff to implement without having to sort through all the jargon and complicated procedures. And it requires minimal prep time, but it's just as effective as other strategies. So now the important stuff. Let's talk about the actual plan for reducing the behavior. So at the onset of class, you're going to tell Luke that he'll be able to get up from his desk and go for a walk down the hallway if he remains quiet and seated in his chair. Do not tell him how long he's required to wait. We're going to outline it in the program plan, but we'll probably start with about 2 minutes of on-task behavior. We'll give you a vibrating timer. You can put it in your pocket or hold it in your hand. So in the case of 2-minute intervals, the timer would be set for 2 minutes. If Luke is compliant for those 2 minutes, you'll tap the green circle on the board, and that will signal that Luke's able to get up and go for a walk. This is a little bit different than the Allen article, but we find it to be a little less disruptive for you and the students in the class, compared to if you have to verbally express to him he's able to go for a walk. If he engages in the problem behavior before the timer goes off, you're just going to ignore the behavior and reset the timer. Luke is not able to escape from the classroom setting until he's compliant and non-disruptive for the desired length of time. Once Luke is able to go one class length of time with no disruptive behavior, we'll increase the interval by 1 minute. We're going to continue this until Luke's able to sit through an entire class with no disruptive behavior and no escape from the classroom. I know we previously kind of went back and forth about using non-contingent escape, but there's some pretty solid research on negative side effects related to it, including an increased rate of behavior at the beginning of the intervention. I strayed away from this strategy for that reason because I don't really feel comfortable putting you in a situation where the problem's going to get worse before it gets better. Another reason why I chose negative reinforcement over other strategies is because it's proven successful across a bunch of different areas. The Allen article looks at compliance issues at the dentist's office, but there's a lot of research in other areas of compliance too. There's a really great article about using negative reinforcement in kiddos who have issues with eating. So for eating, they would be able to leave the kitchen when they ate a piece of food. It's a really straightforward procedure with a really clear plan of action, but it's effective across a ton of different individuals with different compliance issues. However, the strategy is effective for behaviors that involve escaping from something aversive, so in the case of Luke. That's why it's so important that we determined why Luke was doing this stuff, because it's an entirely different plan if he was being disruptive to get attention from peers. Remember, negative means removing, not gaining. I know this is a lot to take in, but I hope I explained it well. I'm going to shoot you an email right now with an outline of the plan and a copy of this discussion so you can refer back to it later. Please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'll see you on Monday.